I spent over £2,600 launching this product. But the first time I launched it, the entire project actually failed. So I ended up funding the whole thing myself with my personal savings. Here's what happened. If you saw my last video where I sell at a market, you might have seen these. This is my book sleeve, and this has become one of the most popular items in my shop. But getting to the point where I could launch these took months and months at work. I did sampling, I launched a Kickstarter that failed, and a very big financial decision that I had to make. So let me show you exactly what happened behind the scenes. The idea for the book sleeve started because I always like to carry my book and my Kindle in my bag. But every time I would put my book in my bag, I would pull it out, the pages would be bent, the front cover would have scratches on it, and the corners would be really scuffed. And I'm the type of person that I love to keep my books in perfect condition. So when I pull it out my bag and I would see that it had all of this damage on it, it would honestly make me so upset. I even tried to put things around the book, so say a notebook on either side so it would avoid the book being bashed around in my bag. But no matter what I did, it just somehow always came out damaged. So I had the idea to design my own book sleeve. I did a bit of research online just to see what was out there. And to be honest, I couldn't find anything that was in my sort of style that I would be happy buying. Everything was pretty generic. They all had the same general shape and style of the design, and the patterns on the front were kind of boring, if I'm honest. As a small business owner, when you see a bit of a gap in the market like this, it's kind of a bit of a challenge to see if I can design one myself which are better than everything that's out there. I could have just bought one online that I've kind of liked and be done with it, but when I have a vision in my head for something, especially like this, I've just got to follow it through and see if I can actually do it. Also, when I design products for my business, I always try and make sure they're multifunctional and the kind of problems that I have, they actually solve. So they have a unique selling point and they really stand out from the crowd. My idea for this book sleeve was, so in the main compartment here, you would have your book, and then in the front pocket, it will fit your Kindle, or you can put some reading accessories. This metal loop on the side here, I thought you could attach a keychain or like a wrist strap or anything you wanted really. The samples. From initial sketch to finished sample, it took me about 4 or 5 months of development. At first, I did a lot of research trying to find the best manufacturer. But to be honest, there wasn't really a lot to choose from, so it made this whole sampling process definitely a lot harder. But once I found a manufacturer, I sent all the specifications over, and a few weeks later, I got the sample. It was not good. This is the best way I can describe it. So imagine you ordered a product off Temu, and this was the image. And then when it arrived, it looked like a cheap knockoff of the product image. That was what happened with the first sample. I was pretty disappointed with the first sample. Looking back now, it's really funny, but at the time I was not too happy. But getting things custom manufactured is really not cheap. But the reason you do that is because it avoids mistakes like this. If you look at the first sample here, there are so many things wrong with it. Firstly, it's super floppy and has no structure whatsoever. The stitching along here is not even straight, and just the general shape of it is just really off. The colours look kind of weird as well, and why are the cherries so huge? So overall, this first sample was an absolute mess. After that disaster of the first sample, it was time to find a new supplier, And to be honest, this wasn't easy because, like I said earlier, there really wasn't many people to choose from. I had the idea of reaching out to one of my past suppliers that made my bags for me. And in the end, it turned out that they can actually create book sleeves, so that was a bonus. But I would always say with manufacturers, it's always worth asking because at the end of the day, the worst case scenario is that they will say no. So I ordered the second sample and I knew before they even sent me any photos or anything, I knew it was going to be absolutely amazing because I've worked with them in the past and they've always done an amazing job. When I opened it, it exceeded my expectations. But there was one thing wrong. From the first sample, I had slightly tweaked the sizing to make it a bit smaller, and the second sample here was way too small. So this second sample was almost perfect. It's just when I put a book in, it was extremely snug and I basically couldn't even zip it up. I carefully took some new measurements and quadruple checked everything before sending off the measurements for the third sample. And when the third sample arrived, I could officially say it was 100% perfect. It fits a book in nicely now and actually zips up. There's loads of room in the front for your Kindle or any bookish accessories. Building hype. As soon as I had the second sample, I was happy enough with it that I could start posting it on social media while I was waiting for the third sample to arrive. After posting it on social media, I got a really good response, and this was the type of validation that I needed, that people actually wanted this, and it was a good indicator that people would actually buy it. The feedback I got on social media was overwhelmingly positive, and people were even asking in the comments what size Kindle would fit in the sleeve, which is a really good sign because people are picturing themselves using it and wondering if their Kindle would fit in if they ever wanted to buy it. A few people did mention that they'd love to see something like this for their iPad. And honestly, this is something that I never really thought about. But when you share samples and share the whole process on social media, it's really good with comments like that for giving you ideas for potential future products. Kickstarter failure. As manufacturing can be super expensive, I decided to go down the route of Kickstarter, where I would crowdfund all the money I needed to get the book sleeves manufactured. Before launching, I didn't really feel as confident as I have with other launches because I felt like I was really rushing to get the Kickstarter live, and as you will find out, that was to my detriment. For the few months leading up to this, I was promoting the book sleeve on social media and in the caption directing people to sign up to a wait list if they were interested in the book sleeve. But this is where I went wrong. I didn't mention about the Kickstarter until about a week and a half before it actually went live. This was my downfall, but I remember at the time in my personal life I had a lot of things going on, so that's why towards the end it felt like it was really rushed. Also, a lot of people have never heard of Kickstarter or they don't fully understand it, so that again put another barrier for people supporting it. The Kickstarter was live for about 2 weeks, and in the first few days I got 10% of the funding that I needed. But what I found with Kickstarter, if the first 2 days are pretty bad, you're probably not going to reach your funding goal. When the Kickstarter ended, I did feel quite down for a few days, which is just a normal reaction really. But I really didn't want to give up, and I didn't want all my months of hard work to go to waste. Also, I think one of the main reasons it failed was because, like I said, I was rushing. I did the Kickstarter just before Black Friday, which is obviously so oversaturated, and I think that was a massive contributing factor for it not getting funded. Funding it myself. In the end, I decided to take the biggest risk ever in my business and fund the entire thing with my personal savings. This was a very scary move in my business and the biggest one I've ever taken, but I feel sometimes you need to take a risk, and I was quite confident if I did, it was going to pay off in the end. Obviously, in the back of my mind, I have things going round thinking, you know, what if I don't sell anything or something goes wrong with the manufacturing, then I've lost thousands of pounds. But when you are taking these types of risks, these feelings are pretty normal. But what you need to do is make sure you've done your research and you know your numbers inside and out before you've spent a penny. So it doesn't feel like such a risk then. The real cost. When you're launching a new product like this and it's manufactured and custom made, the cost can get very high. So it is vital that you know your numbers. Here is a breakdown of everything that I spent to launch this book sleeve. The 3 samples came to $169.82. Manufacturing was one of the biggest costs in this whole project, and that came to around $1,900. To ship all of the products out once the launch was over came to approximately £261. And marketing such as Facebook ads came to around £240. I ended up investing around £2,600 to launch the book sleeve. And that is before selling a single one. Launch strategy. In the end, I decided to launch not just the book sleeve, but also Kindle and Kobo cases, as they're products that complement each other quite well, and they're both reading and bookish related. This also gave me the opportunity to launch discounted bundles where you could get a book sleeve and also a Kindle case in the same order, which is a great way of increasing my average order value. Whereas if I just launched the book sleeve, people might have just ordered the book sleeve, whereas now I'm doing a discounted bundle. They will spend a little bit more and get 2 products rather than just one. What happened after? When the launch finally went live after months and months of hard work on it, I felt like a lot was riding on this. And you never really know if people are going to buy something until you've actually launched. But as soon as I went live, orders started coming in and I felt such a sense of relief. It wasn't as successful as some of my past launches, but I was still super happy with the outcome. Since launching the book sleeve, it's generated just over £1,000 in revenue, which I'm super happy with. I still haven't made my initial investment back, but I do have all of the stock now, which is ready to be shipped and is going to make me money in the future. Plus, since I started running meta ads in December, I think, my sales have skyrocketed, which is really helping me shift some of the stock I have. Was it worth it? So, the big question, was it worth spending £2,600 launching this product? And honestly, I would say yes. I would say it's been one of my best products I've created to date. And to be honest, I was really lacking new things on my website, so this was very much needed. Also, the feedback I've got from my community has been amazing, and it's really given me the push and the ideas to start creating some more new products. Also, this product has given me a lot of exposure into a new market where people like bookish accessories. Whereas if I hadn't designed this, I might not have tapped into that market. The biggest lessons. I think the biggest lesson that I learned from this project was that actually designing the thing itself is the easiest part. It's everything that follows after which is the really hard part. For my next product launch, I'm really going to take my time and plan things out. Whereas, like I said before, I really rushed this one and it was to my detriment. I ended up launching this just before Black Friday, which was a huge mistake. Normally, I would launch around the start of the month because this is where people have been paid, and I've done this for all my past launches and it's always gone really well. The months of teasing the product and taking my whole community along the journey from the sample to the finished product is 100% worth it. I think without all of those months on social media leading up to the launch, it definitely wouldn't have had the success it did. Well, that is everything. I really hope you enjoyed the video and it was helpful. If you like seeing behind the scenes and what it's like to run a small business, if you could like and subscribe, that would be amazing. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye!